So we're going to talk today about one topic that is quite important for workload automation definitions and how application developers are working with the product. In general, we believe that DevOps is a very important topic also for workload automation, but it is a very important topic in general, because it's a way for IT operations and developers to integrate in many different ways. It's a cultural process. It's about sharing process workflows. It's about the management of infrastructure, the creation of the applications, and the development process of the applications, so how they are deployed, delivered, and so on. So we believe that in all organizations, in all customer shops, it's becoming more and more important to apply DevOps procedures, and I think all of you are doing that. The point here is how you can do that with workload automation. In this first slide, I want to talk about a very general approach, and then we will dive into the jobs as code part. So in general, there are many different ways in which DevOps can help you. Workload automation can help you with DevOps. First of all, you can use our cloud providers plugin to support to automate the deployment of the cloud resources. So we provide integration with AWS, Azure, and Google Clouds, to name the most important ones, to automate the deployment of these cloud resources. Could be virtual machines, can be other resources. So you can basically automate your infrastructure deployment through our plugins. Another part of this is that we provide also integrations with data center automation tools. In particular, we do provide integration with Chef, Ansible, UDeploy. So you can integrate in your workload automation workflows tasks of these products, because it may be important for you to keep centralized control on all your tasks, including the automation of these tools. And also because these tools very frequently are related to a specific environment, and you may have different tools for different environments. And instead of having those that are called by analysts islands of automation that are separated and create issues in your environment, you can centralize the control of that in your workload automation tool. Then there is workload automation support for jobs as code, meaning that this is a terminology that was invented by one of our competitors, but nowadays it's very so common that we use it also for workload automation, IBM workload automation. So this is a specific topic that we deep dive in the next slide, and it's applying DevOps processes to workload automation definitions. And we will see how you can do that. And this is probably the central part of this presentation. Other important point is that with all the integrations we provide in the Automation Hub, basically you can automate most of your applications with no-code approach. And why is that? Because when you use, we allow you to define dedicated job types for your applications, for which we develop the plugins. And remember, we have more than 70 available, and we are delivering new integrations every quarter. So in a short time, there will become hundreds, because just remember that a year ago, before we started with the Automation Hub, we had just about 40 integrations. Now we have more than 70. And we continue to deliver new integrations, and you can develop new integrations yourself with the development toolkit. And this is very important because instead of writing scripts to manage those applications, you can just fill DWC panels with parameters. It's much easier also for your application developers as an approach. But let's deep dive into the workload automation jobs as code, which means how you can automate the deployment of the workload automation definitions, putting it together, managing it together with the application code. So probably there are scenarios in which you want your application developers to take care also of the workload automation of these scheduling definitions. And in this case, how you can automate these steps. Here, there are all the steps of the process. Then there will be a demo that Ludovica will run to show how this works, in how this can be customized in practice. But basically, you have different ways to automate these single steps. Let's see one by one. Code part is when you are, applied, of course, to workload automation definitions. It's when you define your new job streams or you modify it, okay? So you can do it with the UI, and for application developers, it might be particularly easier to do it with graphical views, and you can do that right now with the dynamic workload console. You can do that with REST APIs, and you can use on distributed the workload application template format to use REST API to define a job stream with REST APIs, and or WAPL format if you're the customer. And then you can use command lines. You can use Composer. You can use WAPMan for distributed and WAPL for the mainframe. It's not a command line, but you can use Rex to submit WAPL statements. So it's something that is available on the mainframe. From the governance point of view, you can have versioning and auditing control, but this is available, I have to honestly say, it's available only for now on the distributed product. Build, what it means to save the definitions to an AWS development system, because basically by saving the definitions, you get a validation of the syntax. You can do that with the REST APIs, with the command lines again. And the test part, you can do it from the UI, because you can do a submit job from a workload editor that is available. And of course, you can automate that with REST APIs and command line. The test could be integrated with automation test tools and ticketing tools. There are steps in which certainly we can improve what is available right now for workload automation. And we have ideas about what we want to do in next year roadmap about that. But of course, we will also take into account your feedback on these. We want you to be able to use DevOps processes applied to workload automation definitions. And so we are ready to take suggestions and requirements. This was a parenthesis. So let me go forward with the other steps. Release means that you are exporting, for example, your definitions from the user interface or still with the other interfaces, REST APIs, command line, in workload application template format for distributed, in WAPL format for or batch loader format for Z. And for example, you want to save them in a source code management tool to keep the same versioning and same flow as the application code. That is possible to do. So this is something that you can consider. You can keep a version in text format of your definitions in a source code management tool. Right now, this is something that will be part of the demonstration. Deploy means you can import these definitions to another system. It could be that you are moving your definitions from development to test, or from test or verification to production system. And all these steps can be automated with REST APIs, command line, or you can do them manually with the UI. And consider also the possibility to leverage the integration with IBM Urban Code Deploy. We will show that later with a specific slide, how you can do that. Also, that is a way to integrate this, to automate all this flow. Let me just go a little bit through the components that I mentioned in these slides for all the steps. Workload applications. So this is a way that has been defined a few years ago on the distributed product to import-export definitions. There have been announcements to make it more flexible in its a way so that your workflows definitions can be reused in multiple environments. Let's say that this is the format you should use to move your definitions from an environment to another. You can define and interact with this workload application template language either with the Composer command line, with the dynamic workflow console, but there is also a dedicated command line that is called WAPman. When you export the definitions, you get basically a zip file, a compressed file with this list of 5 files. One includes really the definitions part. Then there are mappings and ways that and other files where you can specify rules to map the definitions. Especially, I'm talking about naming conventions to different definitions when you import to another environment. Basically, you can define rules so that your definitions are mapped when you import them to a new environment. I think that all of you, all the distributed users know about the Composer command line, so probably I don't need to spend too much time on this one. The syntax includes the command name, the object or the set of objects that are selected, and then the parameters you want to specify. The users can decide to audit all the changes that are recorded, that are performed through the Composer command line. There are then ways through the dynamic workflow console to download job stream definition, is where you download the job stream definition either in workload application template or WAPL format, depending if your definitions are distributed or mainframe. And I also remind you that for the mainframe, this option is available also from ISPF panels. And this is instead the panel from the Workload Designer, where you can import your workload application definitions. This is only for distributed. I believe that on Z you need to submit a job, a WAPL job. In fact, WAPL is a tool that was developed by Dean Harrison. Most of you know him, and that at a certain point, I believe in 9.3, we added fully supported into the product, and it uses a very similar language to the batch loader one, and you can perform import-export of the definitions besides many other functionalities. And also with WAPL, you have the possibility to map the definitions so that when you import them to another environment, you follow a different naming convention. I think that the name of the statement is the translate statement in this case. But also for Z, you can automate everything with udeploy. REST APIs, I think most of you are starting using them. They are the best way to make it, to standardize the interaction with the product. They are available both for Z and distributed. Of course, REST APIs are the standard way nowadays to interact with products, with every product. So also for us, it is available with this interface. I think now I would leave the stage to Ludovica for describing the scenario and going along with the demo. Please, Ludovica, take over. Oh, I had to, sorry. I still need to display this slide. Ludovica, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to describe the scenario?
Thank you very much, Marco. Yes. Okay. We'll go together through the steps that Marco has explained before. I'm sharing the screen. One second, it's still loading. We'll start from I have connection issue. I had to deal with. Let's begin. Can hear me?
We can hear you.
I've switched the Wi-Fi. Can you hear me fine?
Yes, now it's much better.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm not able to share the screen.
Let me stop sharing.
Okay, let's try.
Yes, now you should be able to share the screen.
Okay, here we go. Really sorry again about the before. Okay, the slide I was showing was this one. So we'll start from the testing part because I've already created and saved a job stream definition. Then I will export this job stream using GitHub as a source management tool. And from the GitHub environment, I can take this definition and import it into the production environment. And then we will schedule this job stream from the production environment. So let's start. This is the job stream we need on the other environment. It contains 4 jobs to be executed in sequence. And I want you to notice that they all start with the keyword test because we are it's still inside the test environment. This job stream is using a variable table that contains some keys and some values. Also in this case, the path contains the test, starts from the test folder. Since we need only this job stream to create the workload application template, I'm using the shortcut, and I can directly download it from the job stream definition itself. I'm saving it in my laptop, and then I need to upload it on GitHub. So I take the zip file, and it's been uploaded to our source code management tool. Then from the self-service catalog, there is already a service that is able to take our template from GitHub and importing into the production environment. It's using the audit information are enabled, so we need to insert some information. For example, ticket, I'm putting the hour of the time where I'm submitting this job stream. So now the script that is executing is downloading the zip file from GitHub, extracting it, and then using the Wapman command line, it's importing it into the production environment. It's completed, and let's check what I've done. If you remember, the job stream was called test decryption. I've used a translation file, I'll show you after, to rename the objects. In particular, I've removed the keyword test from the beginning. And indeed, the job stream is called just decrypt. And all the jobs don't have the keyword test before. In the version tab, we can see the audit information we have inserted before. Also, the variable table contains some renames. Also, in this case, there isn't the keyword text on top, and something wrong has occurred. I'm not able to open this variable table. Okay. There isn't anymore the folder test, but I've renamed it to home while user. But what happens if on the test side there has been some changes on the job? So let's, for example, we want to add a description to the job stream, and we want to, in the decompression job that I'll explain with the file transfer presentation this afternoon, we want to add the option to delete the archive after we have extracted the files from it. And just to save this new definition, I perform exactly the same steps. So I will download again our zip file and upload another time on GitHub. Okay, and now we can execute the same service of before using the time of now. Okay. I'm able to use the same service because the command, the Wapman command I'm using is the replace one. So if Wapman finds that some definitions are already there, it will replace them, and it won't end in an error state. If we open again our job stream definition, that is still decrypt because we haven't changed this name. You can see that we have the description here. We have two different versions. If I open the decompression job, we have the checkbox enabled. We can also compare the version to check what has changed. Indeed, there is the new option we have added from the test environment. To conclude, this is the script I've used. So I'm exporting some variables to enable the auditing. And then at the end, I'm using the replace command, using the translation root parameter, because I want to rename the objects. And the file I'm used is this one. For each object, I want to match the test underscore something, and I want this name to be substituted only with the second group of our regular expression. So we are removing the test underscore keyword. And in case of the variable values, we are substituting the test folder with the home yuser folder. This concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, we are here for you.
Okay, then I will take over to finish the presentation with a few slides.
Yes, to show you that everything we have done here can be integrated with udeploy.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ludovica. Let me move my presentation. So this is specifically if you have Urban Code Deploy in your environment and you want to use it to automate the deployment of your workload automation definition. We have created a plugin for this, so a Urban Code Deploy plugin for workload automation. So what you can do is basically use one of the plugins that allow you to integrate also Urban Code Deploy with multiple source code management tools, and probably also will be supported. So you still have the step of downloading the definitions from our user interface, either DWC or ISPF if you wish. Deploy, import these definitions, download them to the source code management tool, and then you can automate the flow, the process with Urban Code Deploy. So basically, what happens, this is available both for distributed and mainframe, depending on your environment. What happens under the cover is that the automation of the flow will invoke either the command line on distributed or submit a job with WAPL on Z to move your definitions from an environment to another. And also what happens, and I will show it this with slide, you can, the process can be customized with variables so that each time you run this process, the same kind of mapping is performed on the definitions. So let's say that you want to automate two kind of processes, the deployment from development to test. Maybe you need to change the name of the workstations, maybe you need to change the naming conventions of job streams or jobs. So you can define that with variables so that every time you rerun the same process, it's always defined in the same way. So you can customize it once and then rerun automatically always the same process. And the same with perhaps different names if you are deploying your definitions from a test environment to a production environment. Let me also say that we even have a plugin to automate the Urban Code Deploy task. So you could even make this a workflow automated by workload automation, but maybe this would be a little too complicated. So in this case, perhaps. But this is just a way to automate the process, putting together, integrating workload automation with urban code deploy. But as you have seen in, this is how you can customize the properties to map the definitions from one environment to the next. But let me tell you that, as you have seen in Ludovica's presentation, in Ludovica's demo, that you can also do it yourself with workload automation directly. And I think we will also add some new features to this for our next roadmap. So we want to allow you to use DevOps processes for workload automation objects. And now it's possible. If you have seen how you can do it, of course we can improve it, but certainly we want to enable this process also for workload automation. I think we terminated with a little advance this time, so maybe if you have questions, we are able to provide you answers. Let me see if there is anything in the chat.
Does anyone have any questions?
So I guess from my point of view, one question I have is what kind of material has IBM or HL created? Excuse me, doorbell's ringing.
Yeah, no problem.
Let the dog get it out of its system. That's it, they're done. If we wanted to introduce this into our business and we wanted to encourage the application areas to embrace this, the first thing that's going to come from the development areas will be around what training's available, how can they incorporate that into their current workload so they can understand how to use it and utilize it with whatever integration we decided to apply this to. What kind of material is there available presently that we can use to help that conversation and to help them with their development to take advantage of this?
Okay, so currently I think we have only something in the standard documentation and perhaps maybe a few articles or blogs available. But we would like, one of the things I want to add to our roadmap, and your question is actually supporting this, is to add templates and examples on the Automation Hub about how to actually execute this process. So perhaps examples of how to instantiate a new job stream from REST APIs or from a template and things like that. Do you think this would be useful to start using this process in your organization?
I think because obviously we're all in the same boat. We're all very, very busy people, and you guys included. But there's an element of if I wanted to get engagement, I've got to have something. I have to have something sitting there ready to go so that I can engage and encourage them to use it. And you're right that using the YouTube videos, using the examples, so on and so forth, would definitely make those conversations easier, and also allow for us to be challenged in the right way rather than the usual of why can't we do this kind of thing. If we can have an organic conversation, does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
And I think we struggle all the time with the fact that we don't have material to present them. So I spend a lot of time creating documentations and training documentation so that I can get my users to understand how to use the product so it betters their experience. and we're not that's not being supported from HCL IBM in terms of this is what we could be providing, or we're just not, the catalogue of tasks and education material that's available is limited.
Okay, I know about this problem, and I will do my best to do something about it. So you're talking also about general training sessions on the product, not only for DevOps, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're dealing with really smart people here, so it's a case of just getting it's having that real time training, so to speak. So just like Maria's just done with the self-service portal, etc. That's really informative, and it's really easy to go back and refer to that if you've got a question. You might be rethinking it. We all love IBM manuals. I know everyone here is smiling at that statement, but yeah, I think it's just trying to create a portfolio that will support the product, support the engagement that you have with us in terms of what you're getting back in feedback as well. So it's a bit of both ways. I think there's a lot of value to be had in that circle of communication, from an education, informing, and enhancements that you guys will come up with in the future based on it.
Okay, we're trying to improve the way we document new features, of course, but in particular for DevOps, if you are interested, we can engage also an offline conversation, because it would be very useful for us to understand, what is missing, what we have, maybe what kind of material should be provided, what kind of examples, what kind of templates can be useful to customers to embrace this process also for workload automation. I think it's key topic for our customers, and we want to cooperate to understand what's missing for you to embrace this process.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to take that offline, and I'm also quite happy to share the material that we've already created. So we've helped that conversation internally, and it may be something that can give you some insight as to what we have to do to get the engagement we need.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Before there is the conversation goes kind of private, as a general interest, is there an intention, Marco or Ludovica, to kind of publish all the materials and settings that you have used in the demo in whatever form they can be exported from the product? That is,
there is some intention to do this, to prepare some video blog, but
even on the GitHub, the script that you have used, I mean, the transformation, I mean, the pattern transformation from test to home, I mean, in terms of the files that you can feed into Walkman, and maybe that would be a good base in order to then document and make the scenario at least replicable for somebody like Chris.
Okay, yeah.
Yes,
we can do that.
Yes, Ludovica, but besides that, we want to do also a little more. The point is to publish all this material probably on the Automation Hub, and we want to do it, so that customers have examples to replicate in their environments. Maybe we need to do even a little more. So any input requirement is welcome.